you all know me. I'm Mr. Consistent. And it's ain't about what I think is or isn't a foul. But this World Cup, we spoke about this on many of these streams, that there is a high bar for getting fouls. Nudges in the back, players sort of trying to shadow the ball and falling over easy. You haven't been getting fouls for it. Little clips of the ankle, little pulls on the shirt with players falling over. These fouls haven't been given. We have seen 4 or 5 penalties. The most famous was Harry Kane's for players that drag their feet as they go as a goalkeeper or defenders make the challenge, drag their feet, ensure there's contact and go down. We have seen none of them given. We have seen VAR do the best job I've ever seen it do so far in this World Cup, where whatever the on-field decision is, unless it is a huge, clear and obvious error, they have just not intervened. By and large, there have been a few that have been called out. But tonight we saw a penalty given to Argentina when Tagliafico clearly drags his leg and makes his body wider and ensures there is contact. Egypt had a second goal ruled out, scored by Zico, which there was a standing of the foot on Lisandro Martinez, but it was accidental. It lost control of the ball anyway, went down very easily. And then later in the game, Mo Salah had his foot trodden on. Again, not particularly hard, accidental. I wouldn't want to see it given as a foul. But how are we seeing a penalty given when they've ignored them all of the World Cup? A goal disallowed for not just a niggly little foul, which have allowed play on for the vast majority of the World Cup, but they actually brought it back via VAR, which means they've had to look at that as a massive, clear and obvious error. Then they've essentially justified it by saying that he did tread on his foot. And then right at the end, there's 2 incidents, really. One where McAllister pulls on a shirt, another where Mo Salah gets his foot trodden on, and that isn't a foul. Not a big enough amount of contact. And by the way, I agree with not giving Mo Salah the foul, but both shouldn't have been fouls. So I understand the frustration tonight of the Egyptian supporters. And I did tweet at halftime that I do think the refs will do whatever they can, whatever is in their power to help Argentina. That's taking nothing away from Lionel Messi's brilliance. It's taking nothing away from all 3 goals that Argentina scored were legitimate. There's no doubt about it. But it's just these little moments. There was one earlier in the second half at 1-0 where Mo Salah, a brilliant clean tackle. There is a little bit of a follow-through where he clips a player's foot. He's got a clean through on goal. Clean through on goal, and they bring it back for the foul. Again, that was less of a foul than on Mo Salah in the box because Mo Salah wins the ball first. So there are certainly some things for the Egyptian FA, for the Egyptian players and supporters to call out. A lot of people are saying there was a robbery. Look, it's a hard one because the goals from Argentina were so good and they deserve the praise that they're going to get. But I do feel that had Messi and Argentina scored that goal that was disallowed for Egypt, it would have stood. If it was 3-2 to Egypt in the dying minutes and Messi had his foot trodden on that way, I believe the penalty is given. And I also feel if the decisions were reversed, everybody that is celebrating with the RGs tonight would be turning around and saying that they were robbed. They robbed the GOAT. They robbed them of an opportunity. And what I'm calling out here is it isn't about you. If you subjectively think it was or wasn't a foul, I'm actually not that bothered about that. That's an irrelevance. That's for the low IQ YouTubers. Go deal with them. I'm talking about the consistency of decision. Not what I think should be given or you think should be given. That's chump change. It's chump change. What I'm talking about here is you have all seen it, and if you deny it, you are nothing but a barefaced liar. All those soft little fouls have not been given this World Cup, and we have loved it, haven't we? Which is why when Germany's goal against Paraguay was disallowed, we were fuming as football fans. Now, I like seeing the Germans go out, but I defended them because you can't allow all these soft little fouls to go unpunished to go unpunished and play on all tournament and then suddenly start punishing them again. We can't allow players to not be given penalties for the whole tournament for dragging their feet and being on their way down before the contact and then give one tonight. You can't allow Mo Salah to win the ball cleanly, make a small amount of contact, going to go one-on-one with the goalkeeper, and you bring it back for a foul, but then he has his foot lightly trodden on in the box, and you say, no, it can't be a foul. It's the inconsistencies in the decisions that have been made during this tournament that I personally have a problem with. And that's the frustration here. But the problem you'll have is that the conversations will get hijacked. You listen to ITV, BBC, all the ex-pro pundits. It will be, I think it was a foul, or I think it wasn't. And that shouldn't be the conversation. The conversation should be, look at the body of work over the course of the World Cup. Rightfully. I'll give you an example where they don't give fouls that are one looked at as a little bit soft. England should have conceded a penalty to Ghana. But the reason they didn't give it is they felt that there was minimal contact. And then because of that, they said, well, we're not going to overturn it on VAR because it isn't a big enough error. Those are the types of precedents they set in terms of decision making. So we have to hold them to account based on consistency, not what we want to be a foul and not to be a foul, because that's an irrelevance. And it's frustrating to see today. It really is. This super chat here says Egypt did Africa proud. The refs absolutely robbed them, disallowed the goal for a soft foul, but don't give Egypt a penalty for a similar soft foul. Crazy. I just totally agree with you. I really do. The US and Argentina, two most dislikable teams in the World Cup. Do you know the real sad bit is, I think we're privileged to watch Lionel Messi. I think it's amazing to have Lionel Messi in football. But at the same time, it annoys me. I don't even care about the way the RGs go on, right? They're a very passionate nation. They're a very aggressive nation. They are. And I don't care if that offends people. When they're on that football pitch, I'm not talking in normal life. Now, being English, we have a long-standing rivalry with them. And I don't like them winning. They don't like us winning. I really hope we get them in the semi-finals. I really want to go head-to-head with them. Got to get past Norway first, and I'm not going to disrespect the Norwegians one little bit, but I really would love to play this Argentina team. I'd love to be the side that knocks them out. And if you want to see ferociousness and competitiveness, you wait till those two nations play. But especially amongst the fans, it's going to be raucous, trust me. But I'm aggrieved with the refereeing tonight. In the same way I was aggrieved with the way Germany were treated, in the same way I criticised them not giving, England not conceded a penalty in a particular game. But then you know what I always do? I go, right, well, you've set a precedent now. I want to see that precedent met in more and more games. The same as I was frustrated of Balogun's red card when you didn't give Messi one in the first game. How are you? And I've said this the whole time in the Premier League, and you guys know I'm consistent. So again, I guarantee what happens. I guarantee you a bigger nation, a France, an Argentina, maybe in England, scores a goal similar to Egypt's disallowed goal with a very similar treading on a foot, but it wasn't that bad, lost control of the ball, and I bet it stands. I almost guarantee you there's a penalty that one of the bigger nations gets for accidentally standing on a foot. I almost promise you it's going to happen in this World Cup because the football gods always get back in that way. If the challenge for the disallowed goal was enough, then Salah should have had a penalty. Somebody paid a lot to keep Argentina in. I also don't think VAR should be able to go that far back. Look, we were robbed of one of the greatest World Cup goals we've ever seen based on who's playing, the underdogs. Crazily enough, it was almost an identical goal scored a few minutes later.